Hey everybody, welcome. I hope you're doing a very wonderful. So today's video is actually a request from one of my subscribers. It's JoJo Joanne 1992. She did request to see my eyeshadow palette collection. I have to be very honest, my eyeshadow palette collection, I have probably over 100 palettes. It's very unorganized. I'm not like these bigger YouTubes that have the beautiful crystal vanities and the crystal like drawers that are just so beautiful and everything's nice and neat. My stuff is everywhere. Okay, it's in my bathroom, it's on my vanity, they're on my dresser, they're here in my filming room. Like, I'm running out of space because I just purchased so much makeup, but I do need to organize. I do recognize I need to organize, but I did ask her in the comment section if I could just show you guys my all-time favorite palettes, just some of my all-time favorite palettes from my collection. So that's what I'm going to do today. I do have quite a bit of palettes here, so I'm going to try to get through it pretty quickly so this video is not too long, but I have a good mix of drugstore and high-end. And anyways, without further ado, my name is Carrie. Please consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already. And for those of you already subscribed, you guys are the best. I have the best subscribers. Thank you so much for your support. Okay, so these, you guys, are in no particular order. No particular order. I'm just going to show them to you, briefly talk about them. Again, I don't want this video to be too long. So the first one, Milani. You know I had to put a Milani in here. The Ungilded Most Loved Mattes. You guys, everybody, I don't care, young, old, whatever your skin tone is, whatever your texture is, it does not matter. Everybody should have this palette in their collection. The quality of this palette, phenomenal. And I think it's only like 15 bucks. It is the epitome of what a matte palette should be, with these lighter tones, these oranges, some of these like little bit of reds and browns in here. Perfection, and it performs so well. I can't say enough good things about this palette. It is small, but it is mighty. Great palette, you guys. Great palette. Let's see, what else do we have here? Oh, Going Coconuts, ColourPop's Going Coconuts, you guys. One of the few true neutral palettes left. You guys know how much I love this palette. I've had it in my favorites before, but the quality is impeccable. ColourPop always is very solid with their quality, but you got a nice mix of mattes and some shimmers in here, and it just performs so beautifully, and it just looks so beautiful on the eyes. If you want a true neutral palette, ColourPop Going Coconuts will give you that true neutral eye look. And again, performs so well. And it's drugstore price. It's like 14 bucks, you know, $14, $15. And a lot of times they go on sale quite a bit. But I have done looks with this palette, and it's just a banger of a palette, you guys. You cannot go wrong with this palette. Next, I have BH Cosmetics Venom palette. I absolutely love this palette. It is a very beautiful, like smoky, gray, just beautiful, kind of vampy, dark look, but it's still going to be very pretty. And then they put like this purple down in here, just absolutely beautiful. I wish that the Natasha Denona Xenon palette had a purple in there. But you know, no matter. I really like this palette because it's simple, it's elegant, but yet it's a little dangerous. You can get a real good, nasty kind of smoky eye with this, but still look absolutely phenomenal. The shimmers in here are just beautiful, and the mattes in here work really well. You're gonna get more of a dark, deep gray smoky eye with this, but man, do I love this palette. And you guys, I'm sorry, I don't think that you can get this palette anymore. Possibly on eBay, I'm not sure. Grab a makeup wipe. But every time I use that palette, I always feel like my eyes just look absolutely beautiful and mesmerizing, and it's not over the top. I don't feel out of place even wearing it during the day. Now, yeah. All right, next, Huda Beauty Rose Quartz Cool Toned Dream of a palette. Stunning color story, absolutely beautiful. I love it because of the pink tones in here, you're not gonna get a dark brown look with these shades right here. Don't be fooled. Because Huda Beauty loves to do that to you. She loves to put in like shades that look totally different than like these, but they all have the same undertone. So these all have like a purplish kind of pink undertone, but oh my gosh, if you like pink cooler tones, purple cooler tones, oh my gosh, this is one of the best palettes I think on the planet for this type of color story. And I have a soft spot for Huda Beauty. I do think that her matte shades do perform well on my aging eyes. So I do have a love for Huda Beauty's 18 pan palettes. I think the quality is just impeccable. If you can like get it on sale, maybe like a Black Friday or a discount somewhere, I do highly recommend if you do like a color story like this, like a pink color story. You don't have to get just these bright pinks. You can darken up your pink or purplish look with these colors here. So I am glad that these darker shades are in here. But again, you're not going to get a brown look. It's gonna have a purplish pink undertone, these darker colors here. So, and then, you know, Huda Beauty's always got to have some weird petri dish in her palettes that nobody can kind of figure out. I feel like they just do that on purpose to mess with us, but great palette, you guys. Phenomenal palette. All right. Anastasia Beverly Hills Modern Renaissance palette. You guys, when this palette first came out, I lost my mind. So did everybody else in the world. This came out, I want to say, end of 2016, 2017. I've told this story many of times, but in case you're new and haven't heard it, I'm gonna give you a brief one. When this palette came out, I was pregnant. I was like 8 months pregnant. This palette was like the rage, you know, back then. And I couldn't find it anywhere. It was sold out everywhere, you guys. Well, in my 8th month, we were going to have a baby shower and I wanted this palette so bad. I mean, so bad. I ordered it on a wait list, I believe, and I can't even remember who it was from, but I was on the wait list and I was praying and hoping that this palette would come in before my baby shower because there was a look. There was a look that I had to have. I had to have this look on my baby shower. And you guys, for the life of me, I can't even remember. I'm not even sure if I would even be able to find the video of the look that I wanted to recreate. But this palette, the color story is so unique because you got these pinks and then you got like these dark reds and then you got like these oranges, but they all work so beautifully together. I mean, ABH, they did a banger job with this particular palette. It's so unique, so beautiful. Every shade complements each other. They all perform so well. This is actually my second palette. I used the original one that I purchased back in 2017, which by the way, it did come. It came like a day or 2 days before my baby shower, and I got to look fabulous on my baby shower. But what was I saying? Oh yeah, this is a second purchase for me on this palette because my original one was just, I used it so much that it was just dusty and crusty and it was just, no, I had to get rid of it. I bought a new one on Black Friday and I think I only spent like 22 or 23 bucks on this palette. So this one is a newer one. That's why it doesn't look like it's used as much. But man, I'll tell you what, I used the heck out of this palette. Awesome palette. Easily could be in my top 5 of all time. All right, let's get into the Too Faced Born This Way, the Natural Nudes. You guys, such an underrated palette and a phenomenally beautiful color story. I think that this is probably one of Too Faced's best palettes that they've ever made. I feel like the quality is so good. The mattes blend so beautifully. You are going to get not a deep, intense look, but when you use this palette, you're going to get a very sultry, very beautiful, very sexy. You're going to have just gorgeous eyes. And the shimmers in here perform beautifully. I need to pull this out and start and use it a little bit more because I don't want it to get so old that I can't use it no more. I'm gonna have to buy another one like my Renaissance palette. But these rosy and kind of golden tones here, oh, so beautiful. Chef's kiss with this palette. And you know what? No smell. Not like their new Born This Way minis that I had to return. Anyways, I'm still upset about that. All right, let's change gears a little bit. Let's get into some indie brands. Kaleidos. Oh, there went the little paper. This is their, what are you called again? Eyeshadow, glowing iris. Look at just how stunning. Oh my God. So beautiful. If you've been watching me for a while, for me to pull out a color story like this is very unusual for me because I don't particularly love blues, but this is a unique kind of purplish, kind of bluish kind of palette. It's hard to describe, but the quality is so good. Kaleidos is one of my favorite indie brands, and I do have like 3 or 4 other quads that are just impeccable. They're just so, so good. So easy to use. There's only 4 shades. What you see is what you get, but you can give yourself the most beautiful eye look with just these 4 shades. I love quads like this, but quality is great. Blends beautifully. You've got 3 mattes here and this one shimmer here. Oh, chef's kiss. So, so good. If you like a color story like this, then you can't go wrong with it. I don't, like I said, I don't particularly think I look great in blues, but for some reason, these bluish kind of purplish undertones, it looks really beautiful on the eye. I was so impressed when I first used this palette that it has easily become one of my favorites. Oh, LA Girl. Okay, LA Girl. This is their Keep It Playful eye palette, and this one is in Downplay. Absolutely phenomenal palette. Look at the color story. The color story, let me just show you this one up close. I know I haven't been showing all of them up close, but I wanted you guys to kind of see just the beauty of this palette. And I want to say this palette's only like $6.99 in Ulta. You can use a coupon too in Ulta, but this is a very affordable palette. $10 and less for sure, depending on where you get it. You know, if you get it at Walmart or you get it in a convenience store, there's going to be a little bit of different in pricing, but this color story with these browns, but you know, it's a color story that you guys know that I love. But anyways, you've got these beautiful browns, light browns, and then you got these darker blacks, but then you've got like these gray shimmers and then this like brown shimmer here. It's just so, so beautiful on the eye. The fact that it's so affordable and it's easy to use. So I feel like this palette could be good for beginners and for pros. And then the price, you guys, you cannot beat the price. So anyways, all right, one of my favorites, you guys. Oh my God. Easily could be in my top 5, Natasha Denona Mini Gold Palette. This is by far my favorite little green kind of quad type palette. Actually, it's not a quad, it's a quint because there's 5 in here, but impeccable quality. When I say that this palette is impeccable quality, I'm sorry, you can't get this palette anymore. It was a limited edition, or she discontinued. I don't know what she did, but I wish she would move my camera around. I wish she would bring this back because you've got 2 mattes in here and you've got 3 shimmers in here. Actually, I think this one's a metallic, but it is so absolutely stunning on the eyes. I have used this palette before. I've talked about this palette before. I won't dwell on it too much. Quality is top notch. I'm sorry that you guys cannot get this palette anymore. But if you have this palette, comment below and let us know if you agree with me that this is by far one of the best that Natasha Denona has brought out and one of the best just palettes overall. As far as quality goes anyways. All right, so let me talk about what's on my eyes. Please don't ask for a tutorial because this palette is so old. When I used it just now, I realized I probably shouldn't use this palette anymore because I've used it so much that I'm not sure if it's safe on the eyes anymore. It is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Carly Bible palette. You guys, oh, there went the brush. Do you see the mess that I have made of this palette? It is so used and it is so loved. And I feel like this is a palette that got overlooked because gosh, when did this come out? This came out in, was it 2019, 2020? I want to say somewhere around that time frame, but Anastasia Beverly Hills was pumping out a bunch of, I mean, you couldn't even keep up because they did the Jackie Anya. Sorry if I said her name wrong, but she had a palette, and then this one came out like, I feel like only like a month or two later, and then something else came out like a month or two later, and it was like, what are you doing, ABH? Like, can you calm down? Like, nobody can enjoy the beauty of these palettes. Anyways, I feel like people will not like this palette because it's Carly Bible. And they're like, oh, I don't like, oh, she's, you know, whatever. Say what you want about her. I think she's stunning. And I think she's beautiful. And I think she poured her heart and soul into this palette. And I think she did a phenomenal job, a phenomenal collab with ABH. The color story is absolutely stunning, where you've got like a mix of cool tones and warm tones. You've got this red right here that doesn't seem like it makes any sense at all, but it works so well in this palette. Again, does so well mixed with these oranges and kind of like these browns up here. Very similar to the Modern Renaissance palette, which is by ABH as well. But these shimmers in here, especially like this one and this one here, oh my gosh, chef's kiss. Let me come in a little closer. I'm gonna show you my eyes. I've got the red kind of on the outer edge here. I use this one kind of as a transition. I'm trying to remember what I did. Boy, I think was in my crease. This one's underneath my lower lash line and maybe on in my transition a little bit. I can't remember, you guys. I mixed this shade right here. I think it's called My Angels, and Jode to kind of get like a dirty kind of grayish mustard almost. And then I put Moo in my inner corner. But you guys, this is limited edition. You can't get it anymore. So that's another reason why I don't want to, please don't ask me for a tutorial, because you can't buy this palette anymore. Maybe you might be able to find it on eBay. I don't know, but I've tried to find a backup because you can see mine is, it's too old. It's like 5-6 years old, and the amount of times I've used this palette, it's just, it's time to retire it. I don't want to. Even using the palette earlier today to do the eye look, I had to take a spoolie and kind of take off the top layer of every shade. And even then, it was, I could tell that it was, you're tired. It's time to retire you, but I'm not going to throw it out because I love this palette so much, and I use the heck out of this palette. It was so, so beautiful. This is a great palette. Great palette. Sometimes with collabs, especially with like YouTubers and influencers and stuff, people are just simply not going to like a palette just because they might not particularly like that YouTuber. I think it's really kind of a shame to do that, because that palette is a banger of a palette. It's really, really good. All right, moving on. All right, Ace Beauty Aura palette. I have talked about this palette before, you guys. Uh-oh, did I get lipstick on my face? No, I've talked about this palette before. What a unique color story. I have the best of both worlds. I've got my purples and I got my greens. It is just it's the best color story. And I'm telling you, the quality, you guys, oh, through the roof. Ace Beauty. Did I tell you that it was Ace Beauty? They're another one of my favorite indie brands. By the way, this palette right now on their website is at a discount because they are rebranding. Hopefully they stay an indie brand. Oh my gosh. When they say rebranding, it makes me nervous. I'm like, oh my God, did you get an investor giving you lots of money who don't know nothing about makeup, like these higher end makeups? And then they got a voice in what you say. That's the whole thing with indie brands. They get to do what they want. Because they don't have these, high paying investors, telling them what to do. But anyways, I digress. I'm sorry. I got off on a tangent. Anyways, the color story, absolutely beautiful. I think this is part of their Celestial collection. And they're supposed to be kind of like celestial hues. And I do think that they do a really good job, especially like with these shimmers in here. But then you got these greens. Thank you. This is like a palette of my dreams with the purples and then the greens, because purples and greens really make brown eyes pop. And that's what I have brown eyes. So, and then again, you got that like like brick red, these dark brick reds here, just add so much beauty and glamour to the palette. For it to be like a celestial kind of palette, kind of have that kind of celestial beautiful look on the eye. It does. It reminds me of space when I put this palette on, and I'm looking at space or thinking about space, and I'm looking at my eyes and I'm like, oh yeah, I see the vision. So they did a really good job. So anyways, good palette. Like I said, as of right now, it's on sale. I don't know how long it will be on sale though. All right, let's get into another indie brand, Moira Beauty. I love Moira Beauty. You guys, if you have not tried Moira Beauty, you're missing out, because not only are they very affordable, but they have really, really great quality, and they have some of the best liquid eyeshadows I've ever used. They're called their Diamond Days. I'm not going to talk about those but I wanted to mention it. But anyways, they do have some of the best. But the palette that I absolutely love from them, I mean, love, 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 is A Moment With You. This is part of their Love Letter series, and the packaging is absolutely just gorgeous. And it's, of course, the magnetic packaging that I love. But you open it up, it's got the mirror, and look at this beautiful, beautiful color story. Just stunning, stunning. You've got fall time in here. You've got summertime in here. You've got springtime in here, and you got Christmas in here. And let me tell you something, this shade right here makes the palette so worth it, because it is, what are you called? It's called Place to Be. I do want to show it to you up close. It's glittery and sparkly. It's glittery and sparkly, and on the eyes, it reminds me of, oh gosh, what is it called? It's the Fenty Beauty, the one where she's got two highlighters. I mean, I know she has more than two highlighters, but it's the one that looks like just silver with a bunch of glitter on it, and she's got another one that's got like a bunch of glitter on it. And a lot of people use it like on their eyes and stuff. You guys know what I'm talking about. What is it called? Oh, it escapes my memory. But anyways, this is a dupe for that. I think, now I don't own that, but I've swatched it several times in Ulta and Sephora. And this has that same appearance. So Christmas, oh, you just put this on your eyes at Christmas. Oh my God, so beautiful. But the rest of the palette is gorgeous. The mattes blend beautifully. They're soft, they're buttery, they're easy to use. The rest of the shimmers in here, again, easy to use and just absolutely beautiful. If I could swatch all of these for you right now, I would, but I'm not going to. But truly, this is what makes this palette. And I want to say that this palette was only like $15 on their website. Probably, definitely under $20 for sure, without a doubt, under $20. And a lot of times I buy Moira Beauty. I have quite a bit of Moira Beauty products. I will buy them on a sale. They do go on sale quite a bit. So, oh my gosh, just beautiful, absolutely beautiful. I'm gonna take it off though, because it'll get all over my face and everything else. All right. Moving on. Pat McGrath, Mothership 9, Utopian Dream. Oh my God. One of the best palettes. I think this is the best Mothership. But you know, I'm particular. I'm partial to these types of shades. And yes, it's a rosy palette. But I like rosy palettes. But these Blitz Astral shades right here, absolutely. I have to swatch them for you because they're just so, so beautiful. I think this was the last, oh God. I think this was the last palette that she actually had her special Blitz Astral formula. I think moving forward or after this, she moved into a different type of formula. Let's see if I can. But the sparkle is unreal on the eyes. I feel like Pat McGrath has gone down a path that a lot of people don't understand or like. Again, that is when you get a lot of investors throwing a lot of money at you, but then they have a say because they're the ones with the money. I think that, so I don't know why she stopped using that Blitz Astral formula, but man, you could not replicate it. You could not replicate that formula. No company could. I mean, a it gives you something so special on your eyes that when I wear this palette, I feel so glamorous. And I mean, when I say high glamour, I mean glamorous, where people are going to stop and tell you how beautiful your eyes are. That's what you're going to get when you use the, in my opinion, the Utopian Dream. For some reason, this color story just, it gets me, you guys. It just gets me. It's really a great palette. So if you like pinks and purples, and you're in the market for a mothership, that number 9 Utopian Dream, I feel like, is the best. All right, I gotta show love to Morphe No Silent Nights. You guys know how much I love this palette. I mean, I have used this palette so much. I want to say this was their 2022 holiday line. Yeah, because we're in 2024 now. And I mean, I have done countless videos on this palette. Every single shade performs beautifully. Every single shade looks beautiful on the eye. No matter what, look you're going to go for, it's going to be beautiful. No matter what. If you're using these cool tones here, or if you're using these warm tones, they're going to be beautiful. And the way that Morphe set this palette up is just so brilliant. And I wish a lot of companies would do this, is that they did it so that all you would have to do is just take a column, just top down, and do an eye look. Take this column and just, that's your eye look. Of course you can mix around the palette if you want to, but they made it so easy because you've got mattes, shimmers, mattes. And there's probably some metallics thrown in there as well. But absolutely beautiful. Phenomenal quality. Phenomenal quality. I don't know where or who is, doing their artistry palettes, because the one from last year, Tease the Season, is great quality as well. I won't dwell too much on this palette because you guys know, if you've been watching me a long time, how I feel about this palette. Probably one of my favorite drugstore palettes ever. As far as drugstore goes, but yeah, I've talked a lot about that. And a lot of you do agree it's a great palette. I've seen them in TJ Maxx. If you do not have a No Silent Nights Morphe holiday palette, pick it up. It's good. I actually picked up another one just to have as a backup. And I did get it at TJ Maxx for like 20 bucks or something. Maybe even a little less than that. All right. Urban Decay Stoned Vibes. Not a lot of people like this palette. In fact, people hated this palette. But me, I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. I think that Urban Decay just marketed this palette very wrong. It's supposed to be like tourmaline. I don't even know if I'm saying it right. Rocks in here, or stones, or whatever. It's supposed to ward off bad energy. I think this palette came out at the end of 2020. So I think maybe they were trying to be a little funny, a little cheeky, but people were not thinking it was funny or cheeky. Okay. And they hated this palette. People hated this palette like across the board, you guys. But me, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I think that Urban Decay had a great product. As far as these like marble shimmers here, where it would give like different I don't think they would call them multi-chromes or duochromes, but I think that's kind of what they were. I think they were kind of the pioneers, and everybody else we know has multi-chromes, duochromes, and all these shifty colors. But I think Urban Decay just didn't know. I think they were just a little ahead of their time. But I used the heck out of this palette. It was my most used palette during COVID. And I know that that sounds crazy because a lot of places were on lockdown. But in my company, my corporate world, I won't tell you what it was. I don't work there anymore. But when I was still working, believe it or not, we were very busy during COVID. So even though I had a child, a baby, my main job is a stay-at-home mom, my husband was off work. He was off work for like 6 to 8 weeks or whatever. 6 to 8 weeks, where it gave me the opportunity to fill in a little bit more hours and pick up more hours at my job because we were busy. And I used the heck out of this palette. There's only 3 matte, actually there's 4 mattes in here, but I think this one is a satin. And this one might have a little bit of satininess to it also, if that's even a word. But I people didn't get this palette. And they poo-pooed it right away, but I absolutely loved these shimmers here, or these duochromes, or these multichrome, whatever you want to call them. These shifting kind of colors, I just think were so beautiful on the eye. And you have to use a glitter glue. I know people don't want to use a glitter glue sometimes, but sometimes you have to. You have to use a glitter glue, you guys. And I think that only having these 3 mattes here, and like I said, I think that one's a satin, possibly this one, but only having these 4 shades here that are a non, shimmery shade works very well in this palette. And I was able to get the most beautiful, phenomenal looks. As you can see, it is very well used, and it's a limited edition palette. You can't get this palette anymore. I wish that I could get this palette. I would pay. I mean, this palette was 52 bucks. I would pay, to buy this palette again, just to have a new one. This pan right here, Tiger's Eye, I've already hit pan on. I don't know if you guys can see it, but yeah, it's gross looking. It's fluffed and used, and it was very well loved. I enjoyed this palette a lot, and I got a lot of compliments on my eye looks when I was at work with this palette. But Urban Decay, you just didn't market it right. But I'm sorry, but it's a good palette. All right. I have to show love to the original Naked palette from Urban Decay. I got to be careful because, okay, I thought maybe a bunch of fluff was going to fall out. But do you guys see? I've hit pan. You can't get this palette anymore. I've tried even on eBay. I would have paid $100 for this palette just to get a new one. But I think that this is one of the best palettes ever made on the planet ever. The quality was so good. Everybody had this palette. It was just the palette back in the day, you guys. And it was so fun to have a palette like this because it blew people's minds. This, I think, kind of started the whole, makeup. Everybody just, that 2016 makeup that everybody, even though I know this came out before 2016, but that's when makeup kind of really blew up. But everybody had this palette. And I'm going to tell you something. It's a banger of a palette. The quality is so good. I had a signature look where I would put Naked as my transition. Buck would go in the crease. I would put Sin on my lid. No, yeah, I would put Sin on my lid, and I think Virgin as a brow bone highlight, and I would put like a beautiful black little wing. Oh my God, it was so beautiful. And you can see I've hit pan on those because I used it so much. I want to say I used this, I think I first bought this palette when I just got into makeup. I probably about 2 or 3 years into makeup to where I felt confident that I could spend, I think this was like 50 something bucks. Even back then, this palette has to be 12, 13 years old. But I don't want to get rid of it because it has such sentimental value to me. Kind of like the Stone vibes, the Urban Decay Stone vibes, and kind of like the Carly Bible, Anastasia Beverly Hills, like those have sentimental value to me. But this palette, oh man, I don't know what Urban Decay is doing now with all these weird palettes that they're coming out with, but I wish they would just slow their roll and just bring the original back with the original formula, because that is a good formula. All right, I got just a few more, but I have to show love to the Huda Beauty Empowered palette. Absolutely beautiful, beautiful palette. Very similar to, hold on, let me get it. Very similar to the LA Girl, what are you called? Downplay palette. A similar color story, but the quality on this, you guys, even though the quality on this one's good, the difference, you can't with the difference. And then these 2 gold shades right here, I have never seen gold shades like this. I think she's got the best gold shade formula out of anybody right now, and it's in the Empowered palette. Like, you cannot, like, it is so beautiful, and they look very similar. They do look similar, but they do have differences. Like, this one's a little darker, this one's a little bit brighter, and they just look absolutely stunning on the eye. Like, it is breathtaking on the eye. I know I'm being dramatic with that claim, but yes, it's breathtaking. I love it. I love everything about this palette. I think it's beautiful. It performs well. I don't really use these gel right here, but I have done looks with this palette where I've used this black as a base on my lid and then used like this purplish color to get like a really deep kind of smoky kind of vampy look, you know, just a dark kind of grungy eye look. I feel like you could almost get more grungy looks with this palette, the Empowered palette, than you can with her grunge palette. That's just my opinion anyways. But just so beautiful. This one too, this particular shimmery shade, let me just show it to you. That one's just stunning as well. And I mean, when I say creamy, just beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Huda Beauty did a great job with this palette and perfect for fall time with like these oranges and these browns and stuff in here. But I had a lot, I had a lot of fun with this palette when it first came out a couple years ago or whatever. But yeah, great quality, beautiful, beautiful palette. I'm trying to think, is there anything else? I think that's it. Oh, I have a couple honorable mentions. Let me give you just a couple honorable mentions. You guys, truly, I could go on and on and on about my favorite palettes, but I won't. I can't. There's, you know, I do have, so just because something I didn't show to you today doesn't mean that I don't love the palette. Or for example, like the Morphe Tease the Season. I love that palette. I love it, but I can only show you so many favorites. You know what I mean? One of my other favorites, a couple honorable mentions, the Natasha Denona Face Glam, wait, what are you? Glam Face palette, I think is a stunning, stunning palette. This one's in dark and I love it. It's deep, it's dark, it's sultry. You've got 5 eyeshadows here. You've got a blush